Welcome back to the studio. It's now time for a business news update here on France 24. And Owen Fairclough is back with us for that. So, Owen, a bullet dodge for Olympus in Japan. Just more on that in a moment. However, European markets opened up.
Dan, once again, Catherine, we've seen a lot of nervousness, as you might expect, over the past 24 hours about really, can these 26 EU nations actually put together some sort of intergovernmental accord? Lots of divisions opening up now. We'll get into the details of that in just a moment, but lots of concern about the legality of this whole deal, whether these countries can get it together. The European market's definitely reflecting that nervousness as they opened up, all around 0.5% to 0.8% down in the case of the DAX. The Asian markets, the story there is all about Olympus this Wednesday. Its share price down again, but it did recover ever so slightly. The Nikkei also managed to recover some of the losses it had during most of the session, closing the day around 0.4% down. The Hang Seng has closed just a short while ago, that also in the red and off by around 0.7%.
Yeah, so the Olympus story dominating the markets there in Asia, and Olympus investors had a day to forget as well. The camera maker's share price dived by nearly 6% before recovering slightly. Shares trading around 1,300 yen. But at least it's still trading on the stock exchange. The company had to file its delayed accounts or risk being delisted. It's racked up more than $400 million, and it still has to face over how it covered up losses 4 times that amount in one of the biggest corporate scandals ever uncovered. Siobhan Silk reports now.
Olympus has won a stay of execution. Its listing on the Tokyo Stock Exchange is safe. The Japanese electronics company just met the deadline to file its second quarter earnings. Auditors had struggled to sign off on accounts after top Olympus executives admitted to covering up huge financial losses over the past decade. That news led to a massive drop in share price.
It was the company's top executives who started this, and that made it difficult for people outside that group to find out the true nature of what was happening. The other executives involved, as well as the auditors who looked the other way, need to be removed from their positions within the company.
It was this man, Olympus's first ever non-Japanese CEO, who first revealed the company had hidden up to $1.5 billion of investment losses. Michael Woodford was sacked in October after he blew the whistle on the camera maker's cover-up culture, a culture he says is endemic throughout Japanese business. Woodford's now making a play to put himself back at the helm of the 92-year-old firm. He says the current directors who have promised to resign aren't fit to choose their own successors.
Those people who were described as yes men should not be choosing or having any influence on the future management of this company or any strategic decisions. That should wait till the new board is in position.
Woodford is putting together his own slate of candidates to present to shareholders who could vote on the new board by next February.
Well, our correspondent in Tokyo, Gavin Blair, has been following all this. He joins us now. Gavin, we heard Michael Woodford there describe some of those executives as yes men. The jury is still out on them a little bit. But where does this now leave not just Olympus, but also Michael Woodford in terms of what he wants to do with this company?
That's right. Well, Olympus is safe for now, but the company's far from out of the woods yet. The Tokyo police, prosecutors and the exchange authorities are continuing their joint investigation into the scandal. Potential criminal charges could still include filing false financial statements, fraud and embezzlement. And the company remains on the Tokyo Stock Exchange watch list. It could still be delisted depending on the results of that investigation. If serious fraud is proven or links to organised crime are found, then delisting is still a very real possibility. That would be unprecedented in Japan. No company of this size has ever been delisted. And if that decision is taken, then a month's notice is given, but investors would find themselves all trying to unload their shares at the same time, with buyers, of course, very thin on the ground, sending the price into a further nosedive and destroying any shareholder value that was left. Olympus would then find itself in a situation where it would be very difficult to raise funds and might well see itself broken up and sold off. And in addition to all this, the FBI in the US and the Serious Fraud Office in the UK are still continuing with their own investigations. As for Michael Woodford, who was back in Japan again this week, he's declared his desire to return as CEO with his own hand-picked management team. I interviewed Mr. Woodford a few months back, shortly before this scandal broke, and it was clear he considers himself very much an Olympus man. He'd been with the company for 3 decades until his sudden dismissal in October, and I think he would relish the chance now to try and get Olympus out of this mess.
OK, Gavin, many thanks. Gavin Blair reporting from Tokyo.
OK, Owen, we're going to turn now to this week's other drama, bringing Europe closer together through new tax and budget rules. While the push for harmonisation has pitted the UK against its 26 EU neighbours. But even those who are on board for a deal aimed at solving the debt crisis are finding it difficult to keep the same course.
EU leaders say a new fiscal union is essential to resolve the debt crisis, but these Eurosceptic protesters in Poland see something sinister in the new pact.
We hear strange announcements by the foreign minister saying he wants to give part of Polish sovereignty to Brussels so that they will be governing us over there. This is a scandal and should be punished.
The deal was hammered out at speed last Friday. There's still work to be done. The EU president says it should be finalised by next March. But it's been complicated by the UK's veto of an EU-wide agreement on greater tax harmonisation and budget discipline. Now each member state has to sign a separate accord. Several countries will have to put it to a parliamentary vote where it could hit roadblocks. Ireland is studying whether the deal requires a referendum, an even more difficult prospect. And though the treaty provides for EU institutions to monitor fiscal discipline, that could prove impossible without the UK. The European Commission President has begged Prime Minister David Cameron not to stand in the way.
I think that it is in all of our interest to have a United Kingdom government that fully engages with the other member states and European institutions. Indeed, it is European institutions that are the best guarantee that the interests of all member states, including the UK, will be fully respected.
Britain's Deputy Prime Minister has railed against the veto, saying it will isolate and damage the UK. But the Prime Minister's stance is proving popular among UK voters, giving his Conservative Party a bump in opinion polls. Hardline Eurosceptics see it as Britain's first step out of the EU.
That's pretty much it. Just before we go, a bit of company news for you. Boeing having a very good fourth quarter and notching up another record order in its history, this time with a $19 billion order from Southwest Airlines. This includes the first purchase of 150 of Boeing's new 737 MAX. That's another new plane in addition to the Dreamliner from Boeing. It still does leave Boeing trailing a little bit behind its great European rival Airbus, but Boeing says it aims to secure around 1,000 orders for the 737 MAX during 2012.
OK, so that rivalry there between Boeing and Airbus
still going.
No signs of dying down at all. All right, thanks very much indeed to Owen Fairclough for bringing us that business news update. And thanks to you at home for staying tuned to France 24. We have the very latest international news coming up just a few minutes' time with my colleague Stuart Norval.